Hey, good morning, Craig at Willie Farms. How are y'all doing this morning? We are glad you are here. We really are. I do these videos and I put them on there and y'all watch them and I hope you enjoy them. And I'm glad you come along and visit our farm when you do. So thanks. Today, I'm just going to do a little garden tour of what we've got going and let you see kind of what we got growing in the garden and what we don't have growing in the garden, what's doing good, what's not doing so good. So that's what we're going to be doing this morning. So come on, let's take a look at our garden. All right, we're going to start with the first raised bed here. We have got potatoes in there. We've got some in buckets out here, and we're following those along. Some got some yellowing leaves, so I add a little bit of nitrogen. I think that is the problem. Our carrots over here are ready to harvest, and that probably will be done probably today or in the morning. So we're going to be getting that done on those carrots. The potatoes were planted a little bit late, so they're doing all right, but they could be doing better. All right, let's move along. We're trying to grow some seeds from our onions, and I'm not sure we're gonna be able to make it work, but we're gonna try it. So I'm getting ready to put some seed bags over those here in just a few days to catch those. Here I've got some lima beans growing, the painted lady, and they're coming along. They're a little slow. That's all right. They're getting there. Here we have got something that's probably not going to work out this year for us. Did last year. We got it in early. Is celery. So we've got the celery planted. Then we're going to see what it's doing. It's in partial shade here, but this heat is not going to be good on it at all. So we're hitting some 90 and some upper 90-degree days. So probably not going to be a good thing. All right, and this is our row of peppers through here. This is some we planted a little later. These are about a week later, but they are already starting. Some of them are starting to get blooms on them and doing very good. So that bloom right there, and the very dark green, very good looking plants right now. And then some of the bigger ones we've got planted. So these are doing really well. These are all bell peppers, and I've got a lot of them. And I'm using the Florida weave method, as you can see on there, to keep those things upright. We're going to put a little fertilizer on these today because today is Friday and it's Fertilizer Friday. Helps me keep things organized that way. I do have a little bit of grass coming up there. It's doing pretty well too. All right, that's my peppers. There's my 2 rows of asparagus. I've gone out there and I've pulled a lot of the weeds and grass out and left the clover in there. Now some down here at the very end, I haven't got that done yet, so I got to get that done. All right, and got my onions growing here, mixed in with a little bit of grass I need to pull, but they're doing a lot better than they would if I hadn't had this fabric down there. So they're doing very well. They probably got a little while longer to go before they're ready. Those bulbs are already starting to get big. I'll just pull that little grass around that one so you can see it better. The bulbs are starting to get a little bigger. You can kind of tell how big that is. This one looking good. And these are the green beans that I replanted, the contenders. And they're coming up, and I had some of those that didn't come up, about 30%, so I replanted those, and that's what some of these beans down here are. Beans take about 60 days or so to mature and give you a crop. So these should be, older ones should be blooming pretty soon and giving us some green beans. Now just right past the green beans, we've got horticulture beans, and they are blooming already. They're going to be putting on pods pretty soon. As you can see that little bloom right there. Let's zoom in on that and see. Where'd it go? There it is. Get some bloom. There's a pod already forming on that one. All right, so that is my horticulture row. Got some grass coming up in some of the spots, but it's not too bad. But it's looking pretty good. Let's take a shot down this row here. There's a little bit of grass in there, but you can see that row of beans. Now, right past those horticultures, I've got corn. Now this is our field corn, our Hickory King that Mark gave us is growing, and we planted the beans in there with it, and they're growing slower than the corn, and it's starting to put out a runner right there, as you can see, to come around that corn. And I talked to Mark, and he thought if I had 2 stalks of corn coming up, just leave them. So that's what I've been doing. So I've got 2 stalks of corn there. And I've got runners started up on those beans. Now, not all my beans germinated, but I've got some of them, and I'm just going to let them take their course. There's some beans coming up through there. Look at that. Look at the way it's wrapping around that Hickory King corn. And these green beans are good market beans. I got those from Seed Saver. That's a good shot of that bean there. I had a little problem with some of the rabbits eating the tops out of the corn, but it didn't get as much as I thought. And there's the rest of the row of the corn. We got a few weeds there beside it. This is my tomato roll. Just about the whole row is tomatoes with a few peppers in the middle. These are a beefsteak tomato, German pink. It's an heirloom, and you can kind of see they're growing very well down through there. Using the Florida weave method on that. Let's just take a walk down this row. They're blooming. The leaves are looking good. Dark green. We have fertilized these. Of course, we did put some rabbit manure in there with them, and we fertilized this row a little bit with some 10-10-10. I didn't go with organic, but with some 10-10-10 fertilizer. You can just see those blooms coming up there. Looking good. I don't see any black spots on them or disease. That's one good thing of this weed fabric. It keeps the moisture in, for one, and another one, it keeps the moisture and the rain from splatting up and splatting that dirt on the leaves. So I don't get as much blight right now, but you always got to keep an eye out for that, and we're trying to. That one is just loaded with blooms. Look at that. Just all those blooms. Man, that's nice. Now these brown piles in the center is where I pulled the weeds, and I've let them dry for a day or two. Then I'll put them in my compost pile. All right, we're coming to the end of our tomatoes. That's one I replanted, German pink. You notice that leaf is more like a potato leaf. And like I said, they're a beefsteak, and I grew these last year and they were just so good. So that's my main tomato that I'm growing this year as far as beefsteak. Now down here I've got an heirloom pepper growing. It's a sweet pepper. And the name's right up there in the corner because I couldn't remember it while I was filming this. But it's an heirloom. And it's getting a slow start, but it's going. They were planted about the same time as the bell pepper second planting was over there, the smaller plants. So they're not doing too bad, but they're starting to set blooms. Now this one is not doing great, but part of it. And then I've got another heirloom pepper here that I've started. And I've got these peppers close, 2 different varieties of heirloom. So that's why I had to take buckets over to my son's houses for them to grow peppers for me so I could save the seeds. Now you notice that string down from the Florida weave. A rabbit, I believe, decided it was in their way, so they chewed through it. And I'll have to put it back. Now we're going back to a different tomato. This is a replant tomato where I'd lost one. This is a San Marano's heirloom tomato. You notice the leaf is a little different shape on these. And this is a paste tomato variety. And that's what I've got down to the end of the row on that. Now they're not taking off hardly as quick as the German pink, but they're doing very well. The leaves are looking good. They're blooming. This is a smaller plant anyway. And it's has more of a bush tendency to it. And I need to get a second string on here to hold these up, because it looks like something has gnawed one of them. So that's the end of that row. Our next row is corn. Now this is a sweet corn variety. It is Iowa Chief. It is not an heirloom, but it's one my dad used to grow all the time. And I did plant some horticultures in here, and if you remember a video where most of them had rotted, and but some of them did come up. And I've got a video here that I took last night. It shows the difference between the beans and the corn together and the beans and the corn separate. So I've got a short row of that. Now, right beside it here is another variety of pepper. These are heirloom pimento peppers. I've got several of those planted. I'm going to do the Florida weave method on that, so I've got to get that in place pretty soon. And I've got a pepper coming up on this one right now. So I really need to put the fertilizer to these. And right past that, I have got some jalapeno peppers. They're starting to come along. Got to do a little bit of weeding in here. What I try to do is, I've started where I've doing a little weeding every single day if I can. It doesn't have to be long, 5 or 10 minutes, and it accomplishes quite a bit. And I'm just going to have to, as you can see, I need to do some weeding down here. There's a pepper plant. And those are jalapenos, some from seeds I saved last year. And this is my second row of corn, sweet corn. It's beside the other one. It's not doing bad, but it's not doing fantastic. It needed the nitrogen from the beans. I've added nitrogen to them, but it may have been too late in the game for that. And I've replanted some purple hull pink eye purple hull peas in that second row over there. Pink eye purple hull peas last night, so they got to come up. All right, I've got a trellis set up here and a 16-foot long 54-inch cattle panel, and I have planted another crop of cucumbers in here. They are the Russian pickling cucumbers, and they'll be coming up soon. Over here, I had some volunteer plants come up, so I transplanted them into this raised bed, and it looks like it probably is a butternut squash. I haven't got my butternut planted yet, I haven't got my pumpkins planted yet, and I haven't got my watermelons planted yet, along with my cantaloupe. So I got to get that done. It may be too late, but we're going to try it. I have got some marigolds that I am going to put out today when I plant my zucchini squash that I've got to plant some of. I've harvested my garlic, and I'll let you look at that right here. And the last thing is my first row of asparagus that is now going to seed, along with some weeds in there that I've got to get out and some grass. This doesn't have the clover in it like that other did, so I'll just weed all of this out if I can. And this is about the 5th or 6th year I've had that, and it has produced a lot of asparagus, and I hope it works for another several years. All right, this is my kind of sorry looking herb garden. There's the oregano, the basil growing, it's going to seed. The dill is going to seed. There's the thyme down here. You can see that out of my shadow. There's the thyme. The cilantro that is going to seed. See the little green pods there? We'll be collecting those pretty soon for the seeds. That it will be coriander. I've got another volunteer plant going in here. Not some kind of squash, I'm thinking. My lemon balm that I'm going to harvest probably in the morning or maybe this evening when if it cools off enough. I'm going to harvest that, dry some, maybe freeze dry it. My oregano down here mixed in with the grass, and I need to get some of that out here and do the same, dry that. This is our lone tame blackberry bush, and this is the first year it's produced berries. I planted it last year from a root that a friend of mine gave me, Mr. Latta, and we are starting to get blackberries. In fact, I picked about a dozen, and they made it about 2 steps away from this vine, and somehow they ended up in my mouth. I'm not sure how that happened, but anyway, here's my grapevines. That is a white grape there. This next one, Catawba grape, and it's taller than the T-post that I've got planted, and I've already had to work on getting some Japanese beetles off of it. And notice I've got just a paper, it's a construction grade paper that I put down just as a weed barrier. I don't have any more fabric right now, so I use that for a weed barrier, and it's working good. I've used it before, in the garden, and I was surprised that it did last all year. And right here is our Concord grape that is coming up. It's a little shaded. Now these two came in smaller packages. The grape in the center of the Catawamba came in a 1 gallon bucket. So that's why the size difference in them right now. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little tour of the good things, the bad things, the things I'm behind on. But that's what we got going on right now, and I'm glad you had joined us. I really am. I appreciate you watching us and joining us here at Willie Farms, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you get something out of it. So just remember, count your blessings every day, and I truly believe you will find your blessed far beyond measure. I know that I am. God bless. Bye.